I tried extending my nails with Polygel and dual forms, and it was a disaster. What's up, nail crew? It's Nicole, your fellow nail obsessed DIYer. Today, I am trying extensions with Polygel for the first time using dual forms. Now, I've worked with Polygel before and just done overlays or extensions using paper forms, and absolutely love Polygel. I tried doing extensions with forms once, with the dual forms once, and it did not go well. But I figured that was like probably 3 years ago. I've, gotten a lot better at doing my nails. Let me try again. Okay, well, you're gonna want to tune in to see what happens. The first thing that I need to do is file down a good amount of my old builder gel. So I had builder gel on my natural nails, and it was a thin layer. I had some left over from when I was doing my Gel X extensions, but I wanted to make sure I had as much as possible filed down so that I could really be starting over with the Polygel. And since I didn't want to have really long extensions, I didn't want my nails to be super thick. So I went through and just used my Pana 5-in-1 bit. It's a carbide bit that I have in fine, and it's great for filing down my bulk of the builder gel because when I run it in like the 20 to 25,000 RPM range, the builder gel just flies off and I can just skim the very surface of my nail and get off that bulk that I want down. And you definitely want to make sure that you don't use any kind of bits like this on your natural nails. So the only thing that I'm filing off is builder gel. When I get close to my natural nails, I like to switch to a sanding band. Sanding bands are really the only bit that I actually touch my natural nails with. That and like a little bit with my cuticle bits, because then I'm just trying to make sure there's no cuticle stuck on my nail plate. So my favorite ones are these really small ones that are the mini sanding bands. I get them in the 240 from Melody Susie. They just work so nice to get close to the sidewalls and close to your cuticles. I remove any of my lifting with them, any of the builder gel lifting, or whether if I'm doing rubber base, they work really well for that too. And then you can prep your natural nail with it because you very gently just have to run over your natural nail and just give it a little buff. So they are one of my favorite sanding bands to use. Once I'm done with my sanding band, then I'll go in with my cuticle bit. And I love using this one cuticle bit that I have from Cart. It just gets any of the cuticle that's stuck on my nail plate off. And what you definitely don't want to do is you don't want to be like shoving way deep into your skin. And I'm just getting any of the stuck skin, basically, like your cuticle skin that's on your nail plate off. I like to use a stiff nail brush to like dust off, every once in a while because I cannot stand having a bunch of filing dust on my skin, on my gloves. It just drives me absolutely nuts. So once I'm done with that prep, now I'm going to go in and do my Polygel application. Now I have to preface this with saying that the problems that I had were user error. It was not the products. It was 100% user error. Like I said, this was the first time I've used Polygel extensions in probably like 3 years. And even then when I tried it, I feel like I tried 2 nails and I was like, nope, this is it. This is way too hard. So the first thing you want to do is you want to dehydrate your nails. I did my left hand first, and then I did 2 layers of my primer. So you definitely want a primer down that's going to leave a sticky residue so that your Polygel has something to adhere to. Whenever you're using gels or even just plain gel polish, your gel needs something to adhere to on your natural nails. The one thing that I absolutely love about Polygel, and as I was like filling out the forms, I was remembering this, is that it moves so nicely with a Polygel brush and just using alcohol as your slip solution. So I'm using 99% alcohol as my slip solution, and it worked fantastic. The Polygel that I'm using is from Sundara Nails. It's Kane. It's called Kane. It's their clear. It's Hema free. It is so nice to work with. And I'll be honest, I didn't know how much to actually put into the little dual form, right? I was used to just applying it to my nails and being able to tell exactly how much I should use. So this was one thing that I struggled with, was that I'm like, am I applying too much? Am I applying too little? Because I wanted to make it even so that it would be even like throughout my whole nail, but also I wanted it thinner on the sides and at the cuticle. So I was trying to like work it towards the middle of the dual form, like so that that would be the thickest area where my apex would be, and then I'd still get that nice curve at the end. Now, I did it a little bit longer than I actually wanted my nails to be because I knew if I messed up, I could just file down. So first thing I forgot to put the little clip on my nails or on the polygel nail to hold it down while I was curing. So what I realized once I started filing, and you'll see this later on in the video, is that there's a gap in between my natural nail and where the polygel is at the tip, because I did not realize that I forgot to put the clip on to really hold that dual form in place. You definitely, when you're working with polygel in a slip solution, you don't want to put so much alcohol, or if you're using an actual slip solution, you don't want to put so much on your brush that it like drowns the polygel. It just needs to be able to move it. So what I was doing was I would dip the polygel brush into the isopropyl alcohol, dab it on my little paper towel that I had sitting there, and just move it around. And whenever it felt like it was too hard to move, then I knew, okay, it's time to add more isopropyl alcohol to my brush and really work that polygel around. One thing that I absolutely loved about using polygel for extensions was that it doesn't move. So similar to a solid nail glue when I was applying the Gel X, in that it doesn't move unless you move it. Whereas builder gel and rubber base, they will eventually like kind of seep into your sidewalls and your cuticles. The polygel, like the solid nail glue, it doesn't move unless you move. So that was really, really nice. I absolutely loved that part. Now, as you can see, I was making my nails way too thick, but I was struggling with figuring out how much how to use, because every time I thought that like I'd put enough in, or put maybe too much in, I felt like, oh no, this doesn't look like it's going to be enough. How is it going to fill into my nail? These dual forms were pretty curved, and my natural nails have a curve to them, but not a huge curve. So that was something else that I was struggling with as I was moving the polygel around, just thinking like, how is this really curved nail going to fit onto my natural nail that doesn't have this kind of major C curve to it? I know that the polygel is meant to fill those spots in on your natural nail and create the C curve, but at the same time, I just felt like I was awkward with applying it. I struggled with that for sure. And once I realized, like, oh, I have to put the clip on, the other thing that I did was I put the clip on upside down because I had to try to wipe off some of the polygel that got onto my skin quickly. You definitely do not want to leave any uncured gel on your skin. So I was trying to really make sure that I kept wiping off as much of the polygel as I possibly could so that it didn't get onto my skin and accidentally get cured there. I didn't do a great job. I feel like with builder gel and rubber base, I'm really, really good at keeping it off my skin. Polygel, I was struggling a bit. I think just because I wasn't used to it. The nice thing about the polygel is you can just pop the forms right off when you're using these dual forms. And I made sure that I cured them at least 30 seconds in the lamp. And then once I took the forms off at the end, I did a full cure of all 5 nails just to make sure that they were fully cured. I haven't worked with polygel in a while, so I just was like worried that I would leave some uncured. And as I am like going through realizing that I think the middle was too thick, but the ends were a little bit too thin, at that point there was not a lot I can do other than knowing that I was going to do a lot of filing and shaping at the end. Another thing that I forgot to do, and you saw me do this on my left hand, was I forgot to flip my nail over and move the polygel like down the nail. I think I did it on my middle finger, maybe it was my ring finger, and that was the only one I remembered. And even when I did that, I thought, well, this looks like it's not adhering to my natural nail correctly. Like it was so curved that if I pulled too much of the polygel down the dual form, like towards, the tip of it, then it really nothing was going to be on my natural nails. So this is all the things that I was struggling with, trying to figure out, like, making sure that I didn't make the sides of my dual form where the polygel was, I didn't make that too thick. I feel like after some trial and error, I was getting slightly better. Since you just apply the form onto your nail, I was able to use my dominant hand the entire time. So moving the polygel around, I did the whole thing with my right hand, which definitely made things easier for me since I'm right-handed. That was really nice. I liked that a lot. I liked that the polygel didn't move. One thing that I wasn't crazy about, and maybe I should have like fit the forms better to my nails, I felt like the sides of the forms were sticking out too far past where my actual nail went. And I was really nervous about getting that on my skin. So I was trying to like make sure that I wasn't getting that on my skin. One thing that I didn't mention before, and this is really important, make sure when you're applying the dual form down onto your nail that you do it at a 45-degree angle and start at your cuticle, then go to your tips. So you're really pressing all the air bubbles out and you don't have any air bubbles stuck on your nail, because those air bubbles will get stuck when you're curing. So you want it to be nice and smooth. And I use my acrylic nail clippers to clip some of the length off, just because like I did not want to have to file as much as I knew I was going to. And once I started filing, that's when I realized like this is just not looking nice. They are looking way too thick. I am not crazy about like how thick they're looking. I love how polygel files though. Polygel files so nice. You don't have to be gentle with it. If you have, now I can't speak to all polygels, but Sundara's quality from everything I've tried from them has been high quality in their gels. So the polygel was to me very high quality from some of the other ones that I've used. There's only been one other one that I really like, the long hair, pretty nails. Hers is really nice quality, but the other ones I've used haven't been as nice. It is really hard to find a Hema free polygel as well. I noticed there are not a lot of Hema free ones. So I only ever use Hema free. But I'm continuing to file, and sometimes I had to like flip back and forth between the 100 side and the 180 side, and just to get some of the filing down. This was like where I was realizing, oh man, my nails are way too thick. So I had to take my hand file and go over the top of the polygel and try to file out the tips. The tips were just way too thick. So if you've seen any of my builder gel videos, you know that I really like to focus on my apex. The apex is the highest point of your nail, and that's kind of towards the center of your nail. So you want that to be the thickest, the highest point, and your cuticle shouldn't be thick, and then the tip of your nail shouldn't be thick. So the way that I applied the polygel, my tip of my nails was way too thick. So I had to do a decent amount of hand filing, and honestly, I spent more time on these than I thought I would. One, from the original application, and two, because I had to file so much, because I did not want some thick chonky nails, all right, especially at the tips. I dip over my nails, so whether I'm using this polygel or I'm using builder gel, rubber base, whatever, I pretty much always do dip manis over top of it. And I like to keep my base thinner so that my nails at the end don't look super thick. Something that I ended up doing was I ended up filing all basically decked down to the exact length my nails already were, just because it was driving me crazy how thick they were. And I just felt like if I didn't do that, I feel like I was just going to be really frustrated with how the polygel ended up on my nails. And I wanted to keep it on my nails for as long as possible. So I'm doing this voiceover, and I've had this polygel on for a week now, and it's still lasting beautifully. I e-filed my dip off, and the polygel stayed in place, looks great still. So I'm glad that I went shorter with my nails than I had originally thought and didn't go with extensions, just because now, like, looking at my polygel, it still looks so nice. It's staying on there great. And I feel like had I left them longer, it probably wouldn't have looked as nice and been how I wanted it to. It's nice to have a dust collector down, because if you're doing a ton of filing like this, it is going to get everywhere. So that's why I use my e-file over a dust collector. And typically I don't do my hand filing over one, but knowing how much hand filing I had to do, I busted it out. Then I got that 5-in-1 bit that I used back in the beginning. I got that back out so that I could really make sure that the polygel flowed nicely around my cuticle area and sidewalls. I didn't want any weird ridges. I didn't want it to be too thick at the back at my cuticle. I didn't want it to be too thick on the sides. And that's one of the reasons why I love this bit. It is so versatile to use. Everything Everything that I'm using in this video, I will leave in the description. All the bits, all the goodies, the polygel, everything. So if you're looking for something that I've used and you can't find it, just check the description. Or if for some reason I forget, which can happen, I am super forgetful. If you've watched any of my other videos, then just send me a message and I can let you know what the product is. Now, there was one thing that I still had to do. Once I finished filing all my nails down, I realized that my left thumb, I had totally messed up, and that was literally why I had started the extensions in the first place, because I had broke my left thumb. So I thought, I'm going back to what I know how to do. I pulled out my paper forms so that I could just do a really small extension on my left thumb just to make it even for all the other nails. And I pretty much ended up filing a majority of the polygel off so I could kind of start over. Once I was doing these paper forms, I'm thinking, okay, this would have been so much faster. I feel like I had the entire nail done in like 2 minutes, doing the extension. So I thought, had I done that from the start, it would have been faster. But this is what I love doing. I love trying new things. I love practicing. I don't use gels a ton just because I don't want to expose my hands to gels a lot. But since I use gels for my base, it always is great to try new like polygel or builder gel or different methods of, doing gel X or trying these extensions. These are the things that I have so much fun with gels. But you always have to be careful that you're fully curing your gel products. I don't really show that in my videos, but I always make sure that I cure my gels at least 60 seconds. Most of them I cure 90 seconds. And you always want to make sure you're using a full lamp, not just a flash cure lamp. Those are the mini ones versus using a large full curing lamp like I have in this video off to the left. Make sure that you have a reflective bottom, the whole inside is a reflective metal, and the lights aren't those cheap plastic bulbs, they are real lights. I finished buffing my polygel really smooth so I can apply my peel base and then dip right over it. And if you're not ready for polygel, make sure you check out this next video. I will help you learn how to dip. Thanks for joining me today, nail crew.